What's up, gamers? I want to show you this Festival Lead Dipplin deck. It's doing surprisingly good. This is a stage 1 Pokemon, so you can evolve it on your second turn. You can evolve it from the Applin, but its attack is what makes this deck do all right. It has the Do the Wave attack. It does 20 times. This attack does 20 damage for each of your bench Pokemon. So you can do 100 damage if you have the 5 Pokemon on your bench. That's not too good, but what's really good is this Festival Lead ability. It says if the Festival Grounds is in play, this Pokemon may use an attack it has twice. If the first attack knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon, you may attack again after your opponent chooses a new active Pokemon. So this is our main attacker. We always want to try to have 2. We want to have 1 in the active, and we want to have 1 getting ready to go on the bench, because we're probably going to be knocked out because it's got a little tiny bit of HP. It's only got 80 HP. So we're running 4 Dipplins because we need that consistency. We need to always be having a Dipplin in the active and an Applin ready to evolve and like that. Then we have the Applin. We're never really going to use the spray fluid attack because hopefully we're going to attack the next turn, because we're going to have a different festival lead in the active. We have 4 Applin. We got 4 Grookey's. Grookey's also here just to evolve, and you want to have 3 Grookey's on board at all times. Up next is the card that makes this deck run super smooth, the Thwackey from Twilight Masquerade. This is the pre-release promo that came in the build and battle kits. That's why it's got this cool little stamp here, but its Broom Broom Groove ability says, once during your turn, if your active Pokemon has the Festival Lead ability, you may search your deck for a card and put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. So you can find any card you want, and it's not like a once per turn thing like the Pidgeot EX is. You can do this anytime for any amount of Thwackies you have. You can only use the ability once per Thwackey, but if you have 3 Thwackies on board, you can use that 3 times if you have a Festival Lead Pokemon in the active. So this one, Dipplin, is a Festival Lead, so you want that in the active. And then these Goldeen are also Festival Lead Pokemon. So the ideal start is you put Goldeen into the active first. You put some Thwackies down, you put some Applins down, you build your bench, and then you're going to be good to go. So we also have Goldeen. Never going to use the Whirlpool attack. It costs too much energy. We're not accelerating energy. We're using 1 energy a turn here. And this one we kind of want to use as our free retreater with one of our Pokemon tools that we'll talk about in a bit. The thing that kind of stalls out this deck is when they put Thwackey into the active, because it has a 2 retreat cost. There's not too often that we're going to have that much extra energy to be able to retreat and other ways to get him out of the active. But there's plenty of switches. There's 4 switches. So if we can find a switch, we're going to get it out. But the problem is, if the Thwackey's in the active, then we're not going to be able to use the Boom Boom Groove to find any card that we want, because a Festival Lead Pokemon isn't in the lead. It's a Boom Boom Groove Pokemon, and that's not going to do it. And then, like we said, 2 Goldeens. And then we have just a 1 of the Manaphy. Manaphy protects us from bench damage, protects us from the Greninjas, taking out those 2 KOs. So we like the Manaphy for sure. And that's going to do it for the Pokemon of the deck. Onwards to our trainer cards, we got the Festival Grounds, and we got the cool ones with this Play Pokemon stamp on it. The Festival Ground says each Pokemon that has any energy attached to it, both yours and your opponent's, recover from all special conditions and can't be affected by any special conditions. So poison decks, get out of here. You're not going to be able to poison us. Festival Grounds, super good, and you have to have it to be able to use the attack twice. So you could use this attack twice, but mostly you have to have it in the active so you can get your Dipplin to be able to attack twice. You got to find your stadium to do this. Make sure your Grookey is searching this out so you are able to do it. Not your Grookey, your Thwackey. Then we got 4 Buddy Buddy Poffins, one of the best search cards in all of Pokemon right now. So search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them onto your bench. And then shuffle your deck. That's all of our basic Pokemon. We can get 2 of them for free. Don't need Nest Ball if we got Buddy Buddy Poffin, and that's for sure. We got 4 bug catching sets. Bug catching sets look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal up to 2 in any combination of grass Pokemon and basic grass energy cards you find there, and put them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back in your deck. So any grass Pokemon that you find, any basic energy, you can pick 2 of them. Doesn't matter if it's 2 energy, 2 Pokemon, an energy, a Pokemon. You know the deal. Bug catching set, super good. Look at the top 7. You're probably going to find one of them. The only non-grass Pokemon that we have is that Goldeen and the Manaphy, and we don't need to be finding them. We need to be finding our Grookeys and our Applins to be able to evolve. Then we got 4 switches. These ones are from the Heart Gold Soul Silver. This one is from XY base set, XY starter set, and this one is from Prize Pack Series 2, I believe. From Shining Legends? No. Switch is how we're getting out of the active. We need to be able to counter our opponents countering us. Our opponents are going to put our thwackies up in the active, and we need to be able to have a switch. So sometimes I will preemptively use my Boom Boom Groove ability to grab a switch and put it in my hand, just in case my opponent is going to strand my thwacky out there in the active. We got 2 super rods. It can put Pokemon from our discard or basic energy back into our deck from our discard pile. And then we shuffle it in, and then we can search it out with our Grookey. So if they've knocked out all of our Applins, they've knocked out our Grookeys, we can get them right back. Because this is a single prizer deck, they're going to have to take 6 knockouts or do some spread damage. We got 2 Ultra Balls, another good way to find a card and get some other stuff in the discard if we don't need it. Get our hand size low to use a supporter like Cynthia's Ambition. So the idea with Ultra Ball is we want a low hand size to be able to use Cynthia's Ambition. We'll talk about the supporters when we'll get to the supporters. Ultra Ball right there. We got 1 counter catcher. Counter catcher says if we're behind in prize cards, we can switch our opponent's bench Pokemon to their active spot. Love to see it. We got a Lost Vacuum. Sometimes if they got a tool that's preventing us from doing stuff, if they've got a stadium that we don't want them to have, we can go ahead and get rid of it for them. And then our ace spec for the deck is a spicy one. People are like, why don't you play Trolley? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? It's because the Dipplin kind of needs the max belt. It says attacks used by this Pokemon card is attached to do 50 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you attach this to the Dipplin, it's hitting for 150 both times. So it can hit 300 damage in its attack because you attack once for 150 and then you attack again for another 150. So that can take out lots of cards. And Charizard, most notably, is weak to grass. So you don't even need this to take out the Charizard because you're going to be doing 200 and 200, that's 400 damage. But this way, you'd be doing 600 damage to a Charizard, and that's pretty cool. But you kind of have to use this to take out like a Dragapult in one shot. You can also use this to take out Iron Hands in one shot because the Iron Hands is just out of range at the 220 mark. We also have another tool, the Vitality band, that does the +10 when you attach it. So it'd be hitting 220 if you have the full bench and Dipplin. And that's lots of basic Vs, but it's not the bigger basic Vs like Iron Hands. For Iron Hands, we need to be able to hit the 300, and that's what Maximum Belt is here for. We like those. That is the Vitality, and that is our ace spec, and that is what's going on. We have the Rescue Board. Rescue Board is going to make our basic Pokemon retreat for free, and then also it's going to make our Festival lead Pokemon retreat for free. Our Goldeen Festival lead. It says the retreat cost of this Pokemon card is attached to is 1 colorless less. If that Pokemon's remaining HP is 30 HP or less, it has no retreat cost. Having no retreat cost is great because that means that it has no retreat cost. So you want to make sure to be putting your rescue boards onto your festival leads. You might even preemptively put a rescue board into your hand to be able to attach it to your Thwacky to be able to get out of the active for 1 less. You want this guy out of the active. You don't want him stranded in the active. You don't want to be attaching 2 energy to this to get it out of there. It's going to be a bad time. So that's why you got to run the 2 copies of the skateboard. We got a Technical Machine Evolution. Choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon and put it on to the Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. So ideally, if you're going second, you'll want to use this. If you're going first, you're not going to have the time to use it because you're probably already going to be finding all the good cards that you need. So this is definitely a going second kind of thing. We got 1 Iono, which I really think we should bump up to 2 Ionos. But then what will we take out? Iono is such a good hand disruption. I played a Lost Zone deck the other day, and I needed to play a second Iono to be able to win, but I didn't have it. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck. If either player put any cards on the bottom of the deck this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So a super good late game play, make your opponent only draw 1 card if they got 1 card prize remaining. It's a good deal. Cynthia's Ambition, draw until you have 5 cards. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, draw until you have 8 cards. So that's what I was talking about with the Ultra Balls, is we kind of want to have a small hand size. So when we play Cynthia, we could draw a whole bunch of cards. If we have no hand, we could draw 8 cards, because for the most part, our opponent's taking knockouts every turn, and that's going to be all right with us. The Rizu is going to help us thin out our deck and not waste our Thwacky's ability. Search your deck for up to 3 evolution Pokemon that don't have a rule box. That's going to be all of our Dipplins, all of our Thwackies, and that's all we need it for. We want to get those cards out of the deck and into our hand as soon as possible. We got 2 bosses orders. That's going to help us choose the card that we want to knock out. And then we got 4 basic grass energy. And then we got 7 basic grass energy. That's all you need in this deck. You're never going to run out of it. They're not going to take it all away from you. You only need 1 to attack with Dipplin, and that's such a good deal. So this is the deck that I've been playing at League. I like it a lot. Let me know what you think about the festival lead Pokemon in the comment section down below, and we'll see you next time.